I think we're getting to the point where we can automatically create Terraform modules now. Should we have a look how? Hi and welcome back. It's been a while, but I wanted to show you something that I've been working on recently as part of my work in Azure Verified Modules. Well, the only way we can scale in this team is by automation. And with the recent decision to use AzAPI to facilitate all of our resource modules, it became apparent that a lot of the work that would be needed to be done is things quite boring stuff like converting from snake case to the camel case for the provider. And that's not really fun development work. It's quite laborious and it is ripe for automation. So I thought, hey, can we have a go at creating this? And so, yeah, the answer is yes, we can. And let's show you how. I think we can create a module, a working module with child resources in under 5 minutes. I don't know if we can do this. I've got a timer here. I'm going to start. So yeah, let's dive into a terminal and have a look. I'll click go. So this is actually Neodin, which I didn't want. Just get rid of that. Okay, so that's my rough script. You can see here I've got a REST API spec, which is coming from the Azure REST API specs repo. You can see that we're running a command called tfmodmake. We're running that command for the root type resource. We're running it in a submodule to create federated identity credentials. And then we're doing this add sub thing. So yeah, let's have a look at how that works. So first of all, just to prove I'm not cheating, that's my directory structure at the moment. There's no files there. There's nothing in there, so no cheating. So let's just run the demo and it's going to do a load of stuff. Okay, so now if we run that same command, we can see that we've got, if we do level 3, we can see that we've got some files. So we've got some outputs, some variables, and the submodule stuff all wired up. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So let's just open main to start with. Okay, so this is the first error that we've got here. So let's run a terraform init, first of all, just to initialize terraform, the file again. Okay, so it's not recognizing schema body.properties. It thinks it's read-only. This is actually a bug in the bicep types for the provider. So we're going to have a schema validation enabled equals false in here. And then you should find that error goes away. Okay, so let's see what it's done with the variables. You can see that it's got all of the mandatory stuff. So name, parent ID, location tags, isolation scope, all that kind of stuff. The isolation scope is a new feature in the latest API version. You'll also notice it's got it's created a validation rule for it. So it's looked at the enum values, possible enum values in the REST API spec, and it has created this validation rule. This is quite helpful. We like this. Let's look at the variables for the federated identity credential. So this is a submodule. You see the default is empty map, classic submodule pattern where we essentially do a for each on there. So if I go main federated identity credentials, you'll see that we've got a for each. The parent ID has been set correctly. All the variables have been mapped into this thing. So that's that. If we look at some of the federated identity credential stuff, you'll see that it's correctly got the types in there. We can have a look at local.properties. This is doing all the conversion from camel case to snake case to camel case. It's done that automatically. So also we can look at the other locals here. So that's much simpler because there's only one isolation scope. That's at the root module. So yeah, this probably should work, right? So let's just go, actually, no, let's not do that. Let's go to our examples default. Okay, so this is something I prepared earlier. So we need a location, put it as resource group location. It needs a parent ID, so parent ID equals that. And it needs a name. There you go, that will do. And that is all it needs. Okay, so we should be able to now go into examples default, terraform init. Oops, that's what I wanted. And you'll see that it is going to create some stuff for me, create a plan. Okay. And now we're going to apply it. And it's going to create the resource group. And it's going to create the thing. And actually my timer is on 4.5 minutes. So working module with a little bit of explanation on the way in under 5 minutes. Of course, there's more to do here. So let's just make sure we've got drift detection and see what's going on here. Okay, so it doesn't like that. Okay, so what it thinks is that isolation scope is actually set to null in the API. And according to the REST API spec, it's an optional parameter. So it's, but it's not. So it actually should be none. So this is quite easy to fix. So let's come out of here. So let's go to the variables and look at isolation scopes. The default is none. So if we go change that to none, like that, and then we take out this bit of the validation condition, we can see that that's now has to be either none or regional. So that should be fine now. So if we bring back our terminal default and we go terraform plan, we can now see that should be idempotent. There you go. So that's cool. That works. So why don't we now in our example add in a federated identity credential? Federated credentials. Oops, oh, the wrong bucket. Hello, what's going on there? That's better. Let's call it example. Doesn't really matter what that's called. And then audiences. Actually, should we just do that? All right. I am gonna delete that because you can't have a claims matching expression and a subject, I think. The issuer is fine. So let's see if it creates that. Let's go to another terminal. Yeah. Add in a plan. Okay, so you can see that it's going to add in this federated identity credential. All those things look correct. So let's just go to, have I typed that right? No. There you go. And this should create the federated identity credential on the resource. There you go. Bang. So there you have it. Using this tool, which I'll put a link to in the description, it's in my personal GitHub. You can create a module using AzAPI super, super quickly. I would say that it's going to get you about 80% of the way there. There's always going to be stuff to do. So for example, I know with this resource that you need to add in a lock. So if we look at main.tf for the federated identity credential, I know that you can only create one of these at one time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'd have to go locks, and I would have to go probably the parent ID. Yeah, var.parent ID. And what that would do is it would only ever create one of these at a time for any given federated identity credential. So there's always little bits you need to add. But in terms of getting you out of the blocks and getting you started, this is something I think that might be really useful. There you go. That was it. Check it out. and I'd love to hear your feedback on it. One other thing before we go is that you might notice if we look at the variables for the federated identity credential, you'll notice that there are additional information here. So if we look at, it says basically subject or claims matching expression must be defined, but not both. So that's difficult to automate because you've got to actually understand the language. But luckily, we've got some tools that can understand language. So if we go to Copilot, and then we say, okay, so look at modules, federated variables, read the variable descriptions in this file and modify the condition. Yeah, I think it's condition, isn't it? Since to account for any constraints you find. So this tool that I've made in conjunction with an LLM like this, I think is quite a good combination. So you get the basics done with the deterministic tool, which will give you a reasonable start. And then you use an LLM to iterate on this stuff and to do the value add stuff afterwards. It's just belt and braces checking everything at the moment, typical. It's not just going to edit the file. There you go. Look at that. So it's going to add in exactly, it's read the variable descriptions, it's going to add in the validation rules. I think this creates a cycle actually. So because it's added it to both, and I don't think that is going to work. Cool. There you go. Yeah, this is a cycle. So basically, it doesn't know this. With some better instructions, we could get it to run this terraform validate afterwards, but you can only add the validation rule to one thing. So does it? Let's just make sure. Yeah, so it's added it to both, so we can just delete it out of here like that, and then run terraform validate again. And I think that's there you go, and it's valid. So that should do it. Just checking. Oh, it's not initialized. If you run validate in here, then it should say it is valid. Yes, there you go. So there you go. Automatic module creation, super quick. Check it out. I hope you find it useful.